Hello everyone, this is Jack Frost with your monthly update for silver. Before we get into it, I want to say that there will soon be a poll for a new paid subscription on pureelliottwave.com. Once that is live, Lara will be promoting that in her daily YouTube videos, so you can check that out then, and silver will be one of those options, doing an analysis once a week. Overall price has increased with overlapping first and second waves, where the bullish Elliott wave count is now the main Elliott wave count. Elliott wave first, technical analysis last. On the main bullish monthly chart, Grand Supercycle Wave 2 is labeled complete at the March 2020 low, with price now increasing for Supercycle Wave 1 within Grand Supercycle Wave 3. Within Supercycle Wave 1, Cycle Wave 3 is expected to pull price higher, with a target calculated at 46.82, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of Cycle Wave 1. Within that, Primary Wave 3 is expected to pull price higher with a target calculated at 31.12, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of Primary Wave 1. And within that, Intermediate Wave 3 is expected to pull price higher with a target calculated at 30.75, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of Intermediate Wave 1. These overlapping third waves are expected to pull price higher with increasing range and momentum, and at this degree they should be unmistakable and very obvious, which reduces probability in this wave count. Cycle Wave 2 labeled complete here. If it does continue any lower, it cannot move below the start of Cycle Wave 1 at 11.703. On the bullish weekly chart with the end of Cycle Wave 2 over here, we can see more detail for the upwards movement currently labeled Cycle Wave 3. A base channel is drawn around the current primary degree movements from the start of Primary Wave 1 to the end of Primary Wave 2 with a copy on the end of Primary Wave 1. Primary Wave 3 should break through resistance at the upper edge of this channel, and with Intermediate Wave 3 pulling price higher, no second wave corrective movement within Intermediate Wave 3 can move below its start at 20.704. On the bullish daily chart with the end of minor wave W with an intermediate wave 2 just over here, we can see more detail for the upwards movement currently labeled intermediate wave 3. Minor waves 1 and 2 complete over here, with minute wave 1 within minor wave 3 complete over here, and minute wave 2 currently labeled incomplete. Minute wave 2 currently has a target calculated at 23.403, where it would reach the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of minute wave 1. Minute Wave 2 may also find support at the lower edge of this base channel before increasing for Minute Wave 3, Minor Wave 3, Intermediate Wave 3, and Primary Wave 3. If Minor Wave 2 does continue any lower, it cannot move below the start of Minor Wave 1 at 19.909. And Minor Wave 3 overall expected to pull price higher with a target calculated at 26.71, the 1.618 Fibonacci ratio of Minor Wave 1. On the bearish monthly chart, this wave count sees Grand Supercycle Wave 2 currently incomplete and within Supercycle Wave C. Within that, Cycle Wave 2 is labeled incomplete, expected to pull price slightly higher before continuing down for Cycle Wave 3. Cycle Wave 2 has overshot the previous targets and may be complete where it is, though we will wait for bearish confirmation before labeling it complete. Cycle Wave 2 cannot move above the start of Cycle Wave 1 at 29.820. Additionally, a low below 11.703 will add confidence to this wave count, as it is the invalidation for the main bullish wave count. Supercycle Wave C overall expected to pull price lower with a target calculated at 7.46, the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of Supercycle Wave A. On the bearish weekly chart with the end of Cycle Wave 1 over here, we can see more detail for Cycle Wave 2, currently expected to be within Intermediate Wave 3 of Primary Wave C. An Elliott channel is currently drawn around the primary degree movements using Elliott's first technique, drawing a line from the start of Primary Wave A to the end of Primary Wave B with a copy on the end of Primary Wave A. Primary Wave C may find resistance at the upper edge of this channel, and price has currently moved around support at the lower edge of this channel if price breaks below support at this channel, with a full candlestick below and not touching. Then Cycle Wave 2 will be labeled complete and Cycle Wave 3 will be expected to pull price lower. And on the bearish daily chart with the end of minor wave W with an intermediate wave 2 just over here, we can see more detail for the upwards movement labeled intermediate wave 3 within primary wave C. Minor waves 1 and 2 complete here, and minute wave 1 within minor wave 3 complete here, with minute wave 2 currently labeled incomplete. Minute wave 2 has a target calculated at 23.403, the 0.618 Fibonacci ratio of minute wave 1. This also corresponds with support at the lower edge of this Elliott channel drawn here. If minor wave 2 does continue any lower, it cannot move below the start of minor wave 1 at 20.704. On the technical monthly chart, price has overall increased, currently consolidating within support at 23 and resistance at 26. Volume is overall pushing price higher with a push on some bullish candlesticks, though it has declined and flattened quite a lot since this last high here. On balance, volume continues in a range with no signal. ADX increases though it is below 15, so there is no clear trend. RSI and money flow both neutral, and stochastics neutral and increasing. On the technical weekly chart, price has increased after finding support at 22, with volume overall pushing price higher. On balance, volume has broken out of resistance, giving a bullish signal. ADX now increases, though it is below 15, so there is no clear trend. RSI and money flow both neutral, and stochastics neutral, having just failed to enter overbought just here. As ADX now increases, though it is below 15, it does not indicate a clear trend, though if it does continue to increase to and above 15, it will give the strongest bullish signal it can as it increases from a low point and below both DX lines. And on the technical daily chart, price has declined after finding resistance at 26.25, with volume pushing price lower as it found resistance and volume currently declining as price falls of its own weight. On balance, volume continues in a range with no signal. ADX is now declining, showing no clear trend, with RSI and money flow both neutral. Stochastics is neutral, having just returned from overbought. As stochastics declines, along with price, a downward swing may continue towards support at 24 or 23.75, where stochastics may enter oversold where price may find support. That's all for me with your monthly update for silver. I hope everyone has a good weekend.